The Anglo-Zulu War of 1879 was a brief but bloody conflict that shook British imperial power in Africa. It pitted the British Empire, armed with the latest weaponry, against the warrior kingdom of the Zulus, renowned for their military prowess. The war was a stark reminder that even the mightiest empires were not invincible. Britain, eager to consolidate its control over southern Africa, clashed with the expanding Zulu kingdom under King Cetshwayo. What began as a border dispute quickly escalated into a full-blown war. The Zulu warriors, armed primarily with spears and shields, inflicted a humiliating defeat on the British army at the Battle of Isandlwana. Despite their eventual defeat, the Zulus fought bravely, earning the respect of their adversaries. The war led to the collapse of the independent Zulu kingdom and paved the way for further British expansion. The memory of the Zulu War continues to resonate in South Africa today, serving as a reminder of the brutality of colonialism. The roots of the Zulu War can be traced back to the early 19th century when Shaka Zulu forged a powerful kingdom in southeastern Africa. Shaka's military innovations transformed the Zulu army into a formidable fighting force. Meanwhile, the British were expanding their presence in southern Africa, driven by a desire for land and resources. British settlers began to encroach upon Zulu territory, leading to tensions. The discovery of diamonds in the 1860s further fueled British ambitions. In 1872, Cetshwayo ascended to the Zulu throne, seeking to maintain the independence of his kingdom. Cetshwayo's assertive stance alarmed the British authorities, who viewed the Zulus as a potential threat. The Battle of Isandlwana, fought on January 22, 1879, was the most significant engagement of the Anglo-Zulu War. It was a crushing defeat for the British, shattering their aura of invincibility. The British force, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Henry Pulaine, was heavily outnumbered. Despite their numerical disadvantage, the British were confident in their superior firepower. However, the Zulus, under the command of Mchingwayo Kamaho, had carefully planned their attack. The Zulu army, divided into three main horns, surrounded the British camp, overwhelming their defences. The British, caught off guard, fought bravely but were ultimately no match for the Zulu onslaught. The Battle of Isandlwana was a resounding victory for the Zulus and a humiliating defeat for the British Empire. The catastrophic defeat at Isandlwana exposed critical flaws in British military planning and leadership. British commanders underestimated the Zulu army, dismissing them as savages. They failed to properly fortify their camp, leaving it vulnerable to attack. The British reliance on slow-loading rifles proved to be a disadvantage against the swift Zulu warriors. Logistical failures also played a role in the British defeat. The British supply lines were overstretched, and their troops were often short of ammunition. The terrain made it difficult for the British to deploy their forces effectively. The British defeat at Isandlwana forced the British government to reassess its colonial policies in southern Africa. It tarnished the reputation of the British Army and highlighted the dangers of underestimating indigenous resistance. The news of the defeat at Isandlwana sent shockwaves through Britain, shaking public confidence in the government and the military. The disaster tarnished the image of British invincibility and raised serious questions about the competence of British military leadership. The British public was shocked and outraged by the scale of the defeat. The Conservative government, led by Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, came under intense criticism. The opposition Liberal Party seized upon the disaster to attack the government's colonial policies. The British government responded by pouring more troops and resources into the war effort. General Sir Garnet Wolseley was dispatched to South Africa to take charge of the war effort. The defeat at Isandlwana highlighted the dangers of underestimating indigenous resistance. The impact of Isandlwana extended beyond Britain, challenging the notion of European military superiority. While the Zulu War ultimately ended in defeat for the Zulus, it left an enduring legacy of resistance and pride among the Zulu people. The Battle of Isandlwana is celebrated as a moment of Zulu triumph. The victory is commemorated annually at Isandlwana, where Zulus gather to honor their ancestors. The war also had a profound impact on Zulu society. The defeat led to the collapse of the independent Zulu kingdom and the imposition of British rule. Despite the hardships they endured, the Zulus never forgot their resistance against the British. The memory of the war was passed down through generations, kept alive through oral histories, songs, and stories. The Zulu War became an integral part of Zulu identity, a symbol of their resistance against oppression. In post-apartheid South Africa, the Zulu War is seen as part of a broader narrative of resistance against colonialism and apartheid. The Anglo-Zulu War of 1879 was a watershed moment in the history of British colonialism in Africa. It challenged the prevailing notions of European military superiority and highlighted the resilience of the Zulu people. The war had far-reaching consequences for both Britain and the Zulu kingdom. For the British, the war was a costly and embarrassing affair. The defeat at Isandlwana forced a reassessment of British colonial policies. For the Zulus, the war was a tragedy that resulted in the loss of their independence and countless lives. However, it also left an enduring legacy of resistance, courage, and pride.